This is PopCon, a salute to all pop culture, but mostly the 80s. The heavenly aroma still hung heavy in the house, but it was gone. These words may be from a Christmas story, but they work just as well for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving has a very short window of celebration, but something so big needs the attention it's due. Today we have a very special pop conversation with a very special woman, someone close to a cultural icon that is close to all of our hearts. Character balloons to Broadway, 96 years of history. I present Stories from the Parade Route with my guest, Barb Orlove.
Just say, welcome to PopCon. This is my show, and I'm very excited you're here, Barb.
Oh, thanks so much. I am so delighted to see you.
Thank you so much. I hear you are very tired. Have you gotten some rest?
A little bit. We actually spent most of Friday sound asleep.
Probably good. So, why do you do what you do?
Because I had no idea that this would be a passion. And I found a passion in my life, and this is it. And I can't think of anything else I want to do.
It is
Period.
nice to talk to anyone who has passion for the things that they do and they speak so enthusiastically about it. But it's probably not fair to not let everybody in the viewership here, all the viewers, not know what you do. What made you so tired? What have you been doing for the last 4 months?
Well, I have been just sitting around planning, throwing glitter uh, at floats and giant balloons. And last Thursday, we had a parade. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, as I was standing outside directing floats into position, it was raining. It was a torrential downpour. I was wringing water out of my gloves. It was amazing.
I knew that was coming. I knew you were going to say that after all of that, it was fantastic, right?
It was great.
Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is an American institution. It is a pop culture icon to me and millions of other people. And I was nervous when they said the parade was canceled or they weren't going to have a parade this year. Then I started hearing something was going to happen. How long have you worked with the parade?
Well, I started out flying the giant balloons, and that was about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Um, and I was given the opportunity while I was working at Universal Studios in Florida, and said, what? No, sure, I'll give that a try. And they created a monster. I fell in love with the whole process. I said, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this every day. I want to learn to pilot these things. I want to learn to repair them. I want to learn to build them." And they finally said, "My God, what is wrong with this woman?" I was allowed to come to New York. I was certified as the pilot. Um, and as I met people, I was informed that there was a position coming available that was a little bit more involved than just the balloons.
Okay.
And they hired me. I thought, my goodness, this is just amazing. This is too much. And
So
so I actually came on board about 6 years ago as a part of the parade, and doing more than just piloting the balloons.
Well, let's
So
get to your what you do now in a moment because let's go back to the balloons. People grow up watching the balloons, and some people watch the parade for definitely floats, the balloons, the Broadway numbers. But when it comes to the balloons, every year as a kid, we'd look who was next, who was in it, who was going to debut. What do you mean by piloting or flying a balloon?
well, there is, the balloons are filled with industrial grade helium. And so you've got a team of anywhere from 30 to 100 people holding that balloon closer to the earth than it really wants to be. The pilot is the individual that is walking in backwards. So that entire 3 mile parade route is traversed backwards. Yes, we are the ones that are directing that balloon, but our responsibility as a pilot is to make sure that the balloon is flying correctly, that our team is safe, that we haven't killed anybody along the route, and we haven't run into any trees or buildings.
Now, there's a lot of people to hold them down depending on its size and because it wants to escape.
It
And
does.
so, is there times where people have gotten some air?
No,
Like
no,
people,
never that I'm aware
that's
of.
good. That's very safe then.
There are enough people that that's not going to happen intentionally.
Good. Is it tough to hold? Is it pulling on you the
It
whole
can be.
time? Yeah.
It can be. In fact, I convinced my daughter to be a balloon handler one year. And of course, at the end of the parade, I was my usual, oh my God, it was wonderful. It was the best thing ever. And wouldn't you want to do this forever? And she looked at me and said, that's the stupidest thing you've ever had me do. That was hard work.
Imagine it's hard. I've seen the faces on those people, but they also seem excited. What balloon is the big bear to like deal with?
Each one is different, and it has to do with aerodynamics. So even though the giant balloons may look tough, aerodynamically they are fairly easy to fly.
Oh,
The little Believe stars,
yeah.
they can be a real challenge sometimes because they're such an odd shape.
All right. Now you handled the balloons, like you said, for the first time around 10 years ago. Is that correct?
Hmm.
But around 6 years ago, you were hired. During the balloon times, there have been some balloons have had accidents and cut. And
Sure.
recently, was it Sonic? I'm not sure, but is it from hitting a building?
More typically, it's because it ran into the trees on the other side of the street.
Gotcha. All right. Well, not as impressive, but do they come down during the parade or do they keep flying it? Because I know that they're in chambers. They're not all one solid, filled,
That's
empty.
That's true, and it depends on the balloon. It
Okay.
depends on how badly damaged it is, and if you can continue flying, you do. Um, but there have been times when we have had a balloon deflate, and we just simply move everything off to the west side of the street, and we practice this sort of thing. And we do worst case scenario practicing. Always, oh my goodness, we made it through this one.
Now you said the west side of the street. From a viewer, we always look towards Macy's at Herald Square, but then the rest of the parade route, is that similar? Is it always kind of the same view?
The parade starts on Central Park West at about 80th Street.
Oh,
And so
it's a long way.
you're coming up Central Park West around Columbus Circle to 6th Avenue, and then down 6th Avenue to 34th Street, and that's where they turn the corner. So actually, you're coming alongside Central Park, a good part of the route.
Good part of it. So I'm not including this year. How long is that parade when it starts to get one float or one balloon to the end?
Are you referring to time or distance? It's
Both.
about two,
How long?
it's a little over 2.5 miles.
Okay. And then how long does it take for Kermit to get there from start to finish?
It will take about an hour and 27 minutes.
Wow. So people are on
We
the
time
parade.
it.
Of course you do.
It's
So I
very
knew
carefully
you'd know.
timed.
Now, when you get to Herald Square, the first float, there was production numbers. Do they have to stop and wait? Are they there for like the parade is there waiting, and for that last number, it seems to clear out, and then a parade starts right there. Although it started 2.5 miles ago, it looks like there it is. So they have been parading already for some time.
Yes, indeed. Actually, when it hits camera, it's the end of the parade.
It's the end. Well, you seem like you know what you're talking about. What is the role you play currently?
I'm a manager with
Okay.
the Macy's Branded Entertainment Division. And as the parade is where I started, where I just really enjoyed myself, my team is also a part of the Santaland experience because, of course,
Wonderful.
Santa arrives at the climax of the Thanksgiving Day parade. And he brings a little bit of the North Pole with him and several elves, about 228 of them.
No way.
And Santaland, that part of the North Pole that he
Mhm.
brings, Santaland is actually housed on the 8th floor of Macy's at Herald Square, and we entertain over 250,000 visitors during the 30 days that Santa is there.
That is exciting. I think for those who don't live in New York or haven't visited during that time, the parade goes by, Santa debuts, and you say, okay, start of Christmas. He is not done. He's got a job to do, and you take it on and you go into the 8th floor and you continue that journey, huh?
We do. Our visitors have an opportunity to ride the Polar Express into Santa Land, where they're greeted by elves, and they have an opportunity to stroll through Santa Land, and we have animatronic figures in the forest, decorating the forest, and lots of twinkle lights. And we see and there's an opportunity to see Santa's workshop. We do have elves working in the workshop. People would stand in line for 4.5 hours for an opportunity to visit with Santa. But let me say that we've had guests that have been coming to see Santa since they were children.
Wow.
And they are now bringing their own children, and some of them are bringing their grandchildren.
And these are people that are longtime residents, or at least longtime visitors, and they make it part of their holiday celebration to go there.
It is a family tradition for several of them. And we find that, we also have those guests that come to say goodbye.
Oh.
And we have some of our regular visitors that we see year after year after year. And you would think that with those numbers, you wouldn't recognize them, but you do, and you remember, and they remember you.
I'm glad you expanded into Santa Land. My only, when you mentioned it, Miracle on 34th Street is a movie I watch every Thanksgiving, and knowing that Santa finished the parade, but then, yes, it dawns on me, well, he went into Macy's, he became, he did his daily work, Santa worked there for the rest of the season, and I didn't put it together, but that is part of the role, that's part of the job.
It's well documented. There's only one Santa, of course. It's been well documented in 1947 in the movie Miracle on 34th Street. Did you know that the first parade was in 1924?
I knew it was 90 some years old.
Yes, and that first parade was actually on Christmas.
Oh.
And they used live animals that they borrowed from the Central Park Zoo.
Oh.
I know how difficult it is to clean up after the confetti cannon.
Uh-huh.
Imagine what it would have been like after the live animals. So that didn't last long.
Right.
And in 1927 was when they had the first giant balloon.
Okay. Who was it?
It was Felix the Cat.
Felix the Cat, very famous.
Yes.
Iconic animated or comic strip character.
Yes, yes. And there have been giant balloons every single year since 1927 when Felix made his debut, with the exception of 2 years during World War II, 1942 and 1943.
War effort?
Absolutely. The latex and the helium were needed for the war effort. So the balloons did not fly, although the parade still continued.
Well, again, this is why it's an American institution, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you know some history about the parade. Let's go back in time a little bit. Now, let's talk about the floats. We talked about balloons. Celebrities go on it. How do they who chooses what float they're on?
But there's a whole group of people that make that decision. And they are working with the celebrities
and their
manager and their
manager,
team.
Of course. There's an old story. I think Kiss, the rock band, went to the parade and was not expecting to ride such a non-dynamic float.
Correct.
And probably thought about not doing it. They ended up performing, of course.
They did.
That is a story that makes me think, how do they? I'm riding the turkey, or I'm riding, the caterpillar. What is that caterpillar called? It's got a name.
The wiggle worm.
Wiggle worm. So it is funny to think, how does the celebrity pick that? But that must be, again, contracted and agreed upon between the company and their manager. So let's go to 2020, and we have what still manages to be a very long parade, kind of condensed. No guests. I am so grateful you guys did not can cheering. I despise when people can cheering.
Yes.
If you had, and there was no one there, I would have been like, oh. So that was great because we still got to enjoy it at home for what it was. And but there was so much confetti. There was so much confetti cannons.
Yes, it's great, isn't it?
So what was your part on this year's parade once it was? Were you around the corner? Because they didn't do the whole parade route. What was different?
We designed a frozen zone so that streets were barricaded for 2 blocks in all directions so that really you couldn't see anything. There was no good reason to come to any location anywhere near Herald Square.
Got it.
Floats and balloons, marching bands, the 2 that we actually had here, were staged on 6 Avenue. They came down about 2 blocks and turned the corner onto 34th Street. So
Oh.
they came into camera range at that point, and then they turned right off at 7th Avenue. And so the parade was very, very short.
From our standpoint, because I watched it very, very excitedly, and it felt the same without people. So it was nice to see. I was very worried. I wanted it to be something that still gave us a lot of joy, and it seemed to. We saw them come around the corner. There were new floats. There was performances that
Yes.
were quality, and for something that had to be done very different this year. Did you have a harder time this year doing all of that planning and strategizing?
Well, we were reinventing a
Mhm.
lot of it, and a lot of it had to do with the city concerns uh, with social distancing. And so, yes, we said it was reimagined, and truly, how are we going to present a parade that should be 3 miles long in 2 blocks? And so I think that the event that you saw on television didn't look much different from what it normally looks like, but for us on the street, it was a very different experience.
Everyone I talked to here who watched was like, "Oh yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised," or was thrilled to have it and what I saw. So way to go! Congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much. It wasn't just me.
Of course not, but
You
you
know,
are
we
there
had,
making a major part of it. Now, tell me a good story.
well, there was the year that the balloon did deflate.
Mhm.
It did just come right down in the middle of the street. And we had 30 people very frantically rolling that balloon up and shoving it off to the sidewalk, and we had spectators running away from us
Away.
because we had this giant balloon coming at them. And the marching band right behind us just kept right on coming. They were not going to stop.
But it sounds like you got it completely off. Band kept going, and as if it never happened.
uh, you know, Further on the parade route, no one knew that we were missing, which was fine. And I kind of appreciated that.
That is nice. Do you ever have any guests run into the parade route?
Do. Now we do have the clowns that you
The
see on the parade route.
security
A big
clowns.
part of their job is making sure that those guests don't run out into the
Oh,
street. But, and there are police officers all along the route. There are security people available, but still, someone is going to get excited. They're going to run out. They want that picture. They want that selfie. The stilt walkers are the ones that are most frequently challenged because they just can't get out of the way quickly enough for some of these people.
yeah.
And it's always fun. It's interesting. It's the fact that they're so excited, and it's you have to really appreciate how much fun folks are having out there.
Well, I think
And
there's a lot of people out there that would think a security squad of clowns is terrifying enough. So I think that works. That's a good choice.
there are about 8,000 people that take part in the parade each year.
All volunteers that are in it.
Most of them are volunteers. The balloons are tall enough that most of the folks on the third floors of the office buildings have the best views.
Oh, I'm
And
jealous of
so
them.
we frequently see them waving out the windows. And folks that are handling the balloons and the folks that are riding on the parade, that's why you so frequently see them looking up,
Yeah.
because that's where their audience happens to be. But there are also sections of the parade route where it's strictly residential. So you're traveling through an area that is primarily apartment buildings. And so all music is cut. It's a quiet zone. And
I thought they would enjoy it. Why wouldn't that be like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Those people would love to have it right there in their neighborhood. Why is
I
that
know it's
decision?
amazing, but that's something that is dictated to us.
Okay.
And in order to keep our balloon handlers in step, we have chants
Oh,
that they chant along the way to keep their rhythm going. And all of a sudden there are no chants.
silence.
There's yes, and it's very weird.
Well, we should probably hit on real quick, like the Broadway. Who gets to choose that, or do Broadway musicals come in and say, we'd like to be part of, or does someone reach out to them on the team?
Yes to both.
Okay.
Several of the Broadway shows do reach out and say this is something we would like to. Certainly, the talent acquisition department is reaching out and looking at all of the shows, saying what works for us.
Yeah.
And of course, the Rockettes
Uh,
are always amazing.
I have to be honest, that is my favorite part of the parade. So the Rockettes, I love all watching the Broadway numbers, but when the Rockettes come out, I can watch precision dancing for hours. So that that is fantastic. They were out this time, and I loved it.
My roommate is here in New York,
Mhm.
is Rockette, part of the
Oh,
Rockette.
how exciting!
And so she's tall and she's gorgeous, and I hate her most of the time because she is just magnificent. But I'm just always amazed at what they do and the practice that it takes and how they manage to look perfect all the
All
time.
the time. All right, you split your time up. How long have you been in New York to do this production this year?
I arrived the second week of September.
Wow, and you will be returning to Florida soon?
Soon,
And that's
yes.
so if
So we
Santa Land was operating though, when would you have been finished? Towards really Christmas?
Well, Santa leaves on Christmas Eve to
Christmas
go
Eve.
deliver toys to all the good little boys and girls, and
Of
then somebody
course.
has to clean up the workshop.
Oh, wow. Glamorous job,
So,
Barb.
so sometime after the first of the year, usually the first week of January, I'm back. Put it all down, and then we start working on the design for next year, because part of what this team does, we design it, we build it, we put it together, and then we run it.
It's a lot of production. You've got so much experience under your belt now. I mean, years of doing this. This must be a piece of cake, right?
Never.
Little magic. All right. So the eighth floor of Macy's, does it go back to being lingerie, or what is it?
Housewares or coats.
Wonderful. Okay.
Coats and
So
swimwear.
you must have had some fantastic experience and met some wonderful people. What do you take away from these years of working in it that you have?
We all talk about the magic of Santa and the joy that he brings to children. I think what's more magical are the adults that come in as cynics. Oh, I don't need to talk to Santa. It's just, I just came to look at the lights. And they walk away, say, I talked to Santa. And they walk away as believers. One of the our special friends comes every single day.
Oh.
And the elves have sort of taken him under their wing. We know that he has to be home at 6 o'clock. So by 5:15, one of the elves has taken him down to the door that, will get him to his halfway house. And every day he's back, and we know him and we care for him, because that's what Santa does. And that's what the elves are all about.
He comes there for something very important to him. And I think that you, Santa, the staff of elves they know that, and they're going to make him feel that way. That's special. And that is kind of the magic of Christmas, isn't it?
It is. They, and that's probably why I come back year after year. And that's why so many of our elves come back year after year. Some of our elves have been here for 19 and 20 years.
Oh, goodness. They're not getting any taller, but they're getting older.
Hey, elves grow backwards. They start out tall and young.
So do you think next year will be back to normal?
I can hope. We will put something together to make it special.
Well, if you put what you put together this year, even if it was a little bit more than that, we'd still be so pleased with what the work you've done, and the work that everyone on the Macy's planning and the branding and the management and the performers and the volunteers do. Really brings us a lot of joy on Thanksgiving morning. Tell me why it is a pop culture icon.
Oh gosh, I think because we all know it. We all know that Thanksgiving morning we're going to get up and we will watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and Santa is going to be there, and we're going to have giant balloons, and we're going to have floats. And this is what we do.
I feel like
This
it's an old friend.
it is. It is.
And it stood the test of time. So I think that 90 plus years, how could it
96
not
years
be?
this year.
96. Thank you. I was like, do I say 95? I think it's 95. Maybe it's more. So thank you for correcting me. 96 years. And
Yeah.
how can that not be a part of us, all of us, somehow?
Well, that's just it. We even if we miss a year, we know that it's there. We know that, and it's something that we all have in common. It's a common subject that we can all point to.
Somehow it brings us together no matter who we are or how old we are.
You know, kids come in all sizes and ages, and we all are impressed with the floats and the bands and the music, and it's just, oh my goodness, I can't think of any place else I'd rather be.
Exhausting but exciting and rewarding. Your holidays, though, are more special than other people can imagine. So thank you again. Thank you for being on PopCon. Thank you for telling us stories of the parade. Thank you for giving us a little more insight that we don't know. I don't think you've spoiled a thing. I think you've only made it more impressive. You've only made it more like exciting when we watch it next year. It only comes around once a year. We gather for something like the Macy's Day Parade, and that is what makes it a bonding and family experience. So your time in it has been well worth it. It sounds like, and my time with you has been well worth it. Thank you, Barb, very
Aw,
much.
it's my pleasure.
Now
We'll do it
get some
again.
rest. We'll do it again. Get some rest and a Merry Christmas. Bye bye.
Bye.